Like 4 or 5.
About 7 to 8.
Probably 7 or so.
Maybe 6.
I get about 5 to 6.
I get about 4.
Usually around 6 to 7 hours.
Around 5 or 6.
Sleep.
I
night.
average between 5 and 6 hours of sleep.
6 hours.
It depends. When I have an 8 a.m., anything less than 6.
About 7.
Like 5 or 6.
Say around 6 to 7 hours.
Say about 7.5 to 8.
From 6 to 7 hours of sleep.
Per night, more than I did in high school. It's about 5 hours per night, usually 5 to 8 hours. I try to stay in that range.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yes, I do.
I keep everything I have to do and main events and things registered on a calendar on my smartphone.
A Google Calendar.
I keep Google Calendars.
I have one, but I don't really use it.
That's actually how I get to go to bed so much earlier than I did before, because I plan out literally every second of my entire day so that I can try to get in bed by 1 or 2.
It has been theorized that sleep aids in energy conservation, restoration, and information processing, which is critical for our cognitive attention and concentration for the next day. So what do students around UNC think is sleep deprivation? How do they believe this issue personally affects them?
You feel tired. You feel less motivated to do things.
And like behavior wise, I guess I get really cranky and I get really stressed out.
Is when you don't sleep adequately, and how it affects me. I tend to be a lot more cranky. I kind of retreat into myself, don't really talk to that many people. All I want to do is finish my work so I can get in my bed as soon as possible.
Accumulated loss of sleep. You don't necessarily have to feel it at one time.
I think everyone has a different amount of sleep that they need.
First, you have to figure out what that amount is for you, and if you get less hours of sleep than that, then I consider that sleep deprivation, especially when it's adding on over like a couple of days or an entire week.
So like, I take a lot of classes and I take a lot of hard classes at once that require a lot of work, like not just in the classroom but outside. So usually I have to stay up all hours of the night, especially because I want to be social too. So
I think it affects my ability to focus in class, and when I'm doing work outside of class, just like the rate in which I get things done. I think when I'm more tired, I get more distracted.
And it just makes me feel constantly exhausted. I just don't feel like I can be productive when I'm doing my work. I think it affects me a lot because I'm not able to do as well, perform as well, and I'm not able to think about things the way that I want to think about them.
And I've had some moments in classes where I've been pretty sleep deprived, and yeah, it showed through.
Sleep deprivation occurs when lack of sleep leads to decreased performance, inadequate alertness, and deterioration in health. This is due to decreased quantity or impaired quality of sleep.
I think sleep deprivation is such a big issue because there's such a lack of structure here at the university, and I think particularly for students who are transitioning here in the first time, it's almost like an Amish student being released into Las Vegas. Like suddenly there's no bedtime, there's no curfew, and you really do have that freedom to do whatever you want, and the things that draw you away from sleeping at nighttime can be really enticing, and I think a lot of students really have trouble saying no, or gradually throughout their time here really learn to say no, but you have to go through that experience of learning how to say no. I think a lot of students don't realize the extent to which sleep deprivation really does hurt them. I think a lot of times they know if I don't get enough sleep, I'll be sleepy the next day, but I don't think they realize that it really does affect cognition, and it affects your ability to academically perform well the next day. It affects your happiness. It affects your just overall well-being.
Based on conducted research, around 60% of college students have stated that they are tired and groggy during morning classes and have difficulty maintaining alertness. 82% of college students believe and understand that inadequate sleep impacts their performance in class. In many cases, people have been advised not to engage in dangerous activities which require attention and concentration, like driving. However, it's also been understood that sleep deprivation and disorder isn't only caused by lack of sleep. Sleep deprivation can arise from poor sleep behaviors and hygiene. For example, intake of alcohol, intake of caffeine and energy drinks, use of stimulants, use of technology, and obstructive sleep disorders such as apnea. So, how could a college student around UNC receive aid to prevent sleep deprivation?
So we talk a lot in the student workshops I do about how utilizing campus resources really is a sign of strength, and that it's the successful students that are going out and using these resources. If someone is struggling with sleep deprivation, I would really encourage them to just reflect on their schedule, reflect how they're using time. And one really good resource is academic coaching, which is out of the Learning Center. An academic coach will just sit down and kind of walk with you through your academic routine and will help you find those chunks of time that you could be better taking advantage of. Students who are struggling with stress or anxiety or depression, which can really greatly affect your quality of sleep, I would really push them towards CAPS. I think it's just a really wonderful resource that we have here. I would encourage students to Office of Undergraduate Retention is a great resource. Everyone who works here, we all do student success consultations where we sit down and just talk to students about what's going well, where there are areas for improvement, and we do have a lot of students who we talk to who are just kind of struggling to find time or just kind of struggling with feeling overwhelmed and tired all the time, and we just kind of walk through those challenges together. I would really encourage students to develop relationships with their instructors if they haven't already. Students who are constantly pulling all-nighters or feeling really overwhelmed in classes should know that their instructors are waiting for them to come to their office hours. A lot of time faculty members just kind of sit there during office hours hoping students show up, and oftentimes students don't show up, and so I would really suggest that students develop relationships with their professors, utilize those office hours, use all of the supplemental instruction opportunities on campus, use the open study hours for the sciences. Really think about sticking to a planner if you don't already use one. Find a time management routine that works for you, and go to the Learning Center, go to the Writing Center, come here to retention, talk to people who can help you establish those routines if you haven't already fallen into them on your own.